Okay, we'll start. We're learning Lila Nishmas, Yehuda Shimon, Zochran Baruch ben Yeshua Yosef Moshe, Mordechai Chana, Zochran Baruch ben Chaim Yitzchak Zev, and Aryeh Zochran Baruch ben Yeshua Adam Zaman. So I don't know if this is the last week or next week, but there's a lot to do. I mean, there's always a lot to do. So let's get to it. I think we were supposed to do Baina. Oh no, we left off with tying knots. Okay, I don't remember exactly what we left off with, but if there's any questions anybody had from previous weeks, so please post it. Otherwise, we'll do a little bit of baina and then try and discuss some shilas, the more common shilas that come up on Shabbos. Okay, so I think we ended up discussing last week that you can take, like, if a hem falls down, you are allowed to use a pin to pin it up, and that's okay. And then okay, we were discussing band-aids, I think. I think that's where we left off, basically with band-aids. So band-aids could be put on the skin on Shabbos, and they could be opened mitchila, meaning they could be opened from the package without ripping words, which we'll get to that in a few minutes, Bez Hashem, the whole ripping, tearing words. But you can put it on the body. However, like if you're putting it on a finger, I think we may have discussed it parenthetically a couple of years ago. When you put it on a finger, then you should not stick both ends of the band-aid on each other, meaning both the ends of the band-aid should be both stuck to the skin, not on, meaning when you take the band-aid and you put it around itself, it shouldn't be stuck to itself. It should be stuck, each end should be stuck to the skin. Okay, and with the diapers, so closing up a diaper, some players can say that you should not, like when people are closing up a diaper, some players can say that you should not tape it to itself, which is what many people do during the week, because that's going to stay there forever. So therefore you shouldn't do that. But there are makilim, so it's best not to if you don't have to. So just put it into a bag and loosely, the way we discussed last week, not to make sure not to knot the bag, meaning don't knot the bag in any permanent way. Just make a slip knot or something like that. So it's best when the poskim, like we know the rule is, when you have poskim that asa things, and it's easy to not have to be put yourself in the situation, so then don't do it. So when you're putting a diaper away, so then just don't tape it down to each other. But if you do, it's certainly not a problem. I'm not sure what you mean by there's only one tab. Is only one tab a problem? I'm assuming one tab is also a problem because it's going to stick. It's a matter of whether it's going to stick in any permanent way. So therefore, you shouldn't. Try not to do it. But if you do it, and you do it out of habit, then it's certainly nothing to worry about. Last I left off with diapers is that nowadays they're Velcro. They're sort of like Velcro. It's not glue. But then now somebody told me that they are glue, meaning they're glued. The tabs are glued on. So if that's the case and they're glued on, so the problem is that some say that when you pull them off on Shabbos for the first time, so that's sort of like a makeh b'patish, because you're making them into a usable diaper. So therefore, you should try and open them before Shabbos. If that's the case and they're not like this quasi Velcro thing, then that's what you should do. Right? Yeah. So that's you can't. I would say if you're putting it into a bag and then you're tying it, so then you got to just make sure that knot is not a particularly permanent like a long-term knot. It should be a slip knot or anything like that, and then you're fine. Okay, so the best way to make guacamole on Shabbos, I see, is somebody asked, and that the best way to make guacamole on Shabbos is to make guacamole before Shabbos. That's the best way. If you're not going to, if you can't do that because it gets discolored or et cetera, so then you can do it before, but right before the meal, and right before means, let's say within a half hour before the meal, and you should make it slightly looser if you can, and do it with a shino. When you're mixing it, you mix it with a shino, and then you should be okay. That would be enough to make it like that. Now, I'd like to discuss, and we said, I think, binary situations of building. So, um, so yeah, building, writing, a lot of questions get asked about building puzzles. I don't know, maybe it's an in thing now for puzzles. Get a lot of shilas about making puzzles on Shabbos. And that leads to also the common questions of, can you cut a cake that has writing on it or a cake that has pictures on it? And how about opening packages? I don't want to discuss the opening packages. That's a whole, that's many shiurim to try and get that straight, which is why the best thing to do is open all packages before Shabbos. Obviously, if you forget, then most packages can be opened on Shabbos. But I find that the tearing the letters is a cause of a lot of stress for people's um Shmira Shabbos abilities, because it sort of turns people off with with because people get so carried away with the risk of tearing letters on Shabbos. Well, we'll get back to that in a minute. But first, Lego. So one of the common questions that's asked is, can you play with Lego on Shabbos? So that's a machlokes a poskim, like everything else. It's a disagreement. Depends on how stuck the Lego gets to it. Meaning, you have what's the other thing? Clicks. So clicks, almost no clicks are meant to be permanent, and the kids play with things and then they just destroy it. So clicks is less of an issue. Lego that the kids are going to take and destroy, meaning they're going to just break it up. Also, most places can say it's not a problem, so then that's fine. The question is, you have those specialized sets, and the kids want to play with those specialized sets on Shabbos. So that maybe some places can say that should not be done because they're going to keep it. They're going to keep it for a long time. Although I find that in my family, even those sets are not and don't end up being kept for a long time. But in theory, they're meant to be kept for a while. So um, those sets are could be more problematic. But if you know that they're going to end up destroying them, then it's fine also. So the question is, can parents help the kids with the Lego, especially younger kids? So yeah, the answer is that you can, but it's not suggested to push the pieces in. Let the kids let the kids push the pieces in to make them tighter. Let the adults shouldn't. Kids, you don't have to stop kids from playing with Lego till bar mitzvah. After bar mitzvah, so if it's these sets that are meant to be permanent, then a kid over bar mitzvah shouldn't do it. If it's not meant to be permanent and it's like, they're just randomly playing with Lego, then I wouldn't worry about it. There is an interesting concern that some places can have, is like, so kids like to build houses. Um, yeah, so again, if it's gonna stay permanent, then it would be a problem, but they don't stay permanent. So um, unless it's a specific set. So usually they end up smashing it. So I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't stop the kids from doing anything unless the kid's over bar mitzvah. If the kid's over bar mitzvah and it's a set that's going to be more permanent, then you should tell them that it's better not to. But I wouldn't cause any stress with it, because the end of the day, they don't end up. I don't know about the end of the day specifically, but they end up getting broken again. So it's not really a problem. But some want to say, and this has to do with baina. Baina means to build, right? So you're not allowed to build something from new on Shabbos. So baina, um, baina is you can make a house, and anything that has a tefach of space. So that is like you're building a house. That's like making a roof. So if a kid is building a Lego that has more than a tefach, which let's call it 3 inches of space, like between the floor of the Lego and the roof of the Lego, then you have a problem of the kid just built a house. And again, it's temporary, but it's more of a problem because right now, then the kids are putting, putting things inside of it. So they just created a house. So therefore, that's more problematic. But others say it's not a problem because it's it's just temporary. So again, I wouldn't stress anybody on the bar mitzvah. Certainly, let them do whatever it is that they want with the Lego, and the clicks and the magnet tiles are certainly fine. Now, if the kids want to make these tents, right, that's another common thing that kids want to do is they want to make tents on Shabbos. So if they're going to do that, so what they should do is they should make the top of the tent first and then the walls. Meaning, don't make the walls first. Just however they're making the walls, hanging over a chair or whatever it is, some multiple chairs, table, or that. Just let them make the roof first and then make the walls if they can. Again, you don't have to get it's children, and what they're doing is temporary, so it's really not such an issue. But let's get back more to what's more pertinent for us, is the cutting the letters on Shabbos. Big area of stress, because somebody's opening a package and then they tear the letters. So if they don't make themselves stressed out because I was just Machal Shabbos like because I erased, or somebody else screams at them and says, look what you just did, and da 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 da, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. It's not such a big isser. I know it's going to come off sounding like some sort of irreligious person, but that's not the way the world approaches this concept of cutting letters on cakes and cutting letters on packages is, let's call it overrated. Let's call it overrated. At the minimum, it's considered overrated. So let's start with the cake, because that's actually discussed in Shulchan Aruch. Believe it or not, there are poskim that say that there's no problem to cut through letters on a cake. We don't paskin like that. Let's get something clear. I'm not saying that you're allowed to cut letters on cakes, but there's major poskim who say that you are allowed to cut the letters on the cakes, and a picture too. But the reason not to do it is because of erasing. Because you're taking a word that you can read, and now you're breaking it up. All right. Now there's a shita of the Noida Yehuda. I'm sure many have heard of the Noida Yehuda, but he has a sefer on Shulchan Aruch that's called Dagam Ravava. And he says that first of all, it's also the maximum of it is a derabanan. It is not a deraisa. Of if you cut through the letters on a cake, and certainly on packaging, etc., that is not an issa deraisa. But the Noida Yehuda, Dagam Ravava, says that it is mutter to eat a cake that has letters on it, because he said that's not the normal way to erase, right? And you're not erasing in order to write something in its place. And then you're breaking it in your mouth, right? So, and it's totally without kavana. You're not interested in erasing the letters. You can care less. All you want to do is eat a piece of cake. And then there's also an opinion of the Taz, who says, just like we discussed with the grinding, and we mentioned it before, that you do it before the meal, it's okay. And butter also, certain types of butter are mutter right before the meal. So he says the same thing would apply to cutting letters right before you eat it. Right before you eat it is then it's allowed. Now, again, these are not the minig, and we're not chas v'shalom trying to cast the Klal Yisrael in a bad light, that Klal Yisrael is being strict for no reason. No. Bottom line is, Klal Yisrael, there are certain psakim in Hilchos Shabbos that Klal Yisrael is accepted. For example, not opening an umbrella on Shabbos, which seems to be really, if you really analyze it, there should be no problem with. I'm sorry for just jumping off on a tangent. We're just trying to bring out the point. There really should be no problem with opening an umbrella on Shabbos, but the minig in Klal Yisrael, however it evolved, is the minig in Klal Yisrael is that you don't. Not only do you not open an umbrella on Shabbos, you don't even use an umbrella that's opened before Shabbos, which is even a bigger chiddush to make it also. But that's what Klal Yisrael does. So that's what Klal Yisrael does. So we don't. I don't want anybody to uh, to to misunderstand what we're saying and said, oh yeah, no problem. But we said you can cut the letters on the cake, etc. The hanhag is that we don't do it. But you let's say. But the bottom line is there are many, many reasons to be lenient to cut these letters on the cake. And certainly if it's going to, if for whatever reason, so, and the bakeries, of course, as most know, they put the letters on a cookie nowadays. But let's say they didn't do that, and it's a kid's birthday party, and the kid's going to be sad not cutting the cake. Let the kid cut the cake. It's no problem. It's certainly not a problem. And cutting in between words is certainly not a problem. That's mutter even according to what the way we interpret it as strict. Cutting between letters and cutting between, well, if you can cut between letters, you certainly can cut between words, right? Oh, you're destroying the word, that's fine, right? But that's the way we would paskin. So you can cut. And now if it's script, if the whole word is script, so it's considered as if you're cutting in between the letters. So that's one heter. Another heter is most poskim say that if the letters are baked into the actual cake, then it's allowed. Meaning sometimes you have these cookies that they're, let's say Oreo cookies, I think writes Oreo on the cookie. And you have like some of them have ABC cookies, or they have letters in the cookies. Those, meaning if it's part of the cookie or part of the actual cake, then it's mutter. So people ask if they take sprinkles and they write on the cake a name in with actual sprinkles. I'm not sure if that's considered part of the cake or not. I would think it's considered part of the cake and it should be okay. But I'm not sure. So that's basically it. And also Svardim are much more lenient with this. And I think pretty much, I guess if anybody's Sephardi, they would have to ask their Sephardi Rabbanim. As far as I understand it, Sephardim are much more lenient with letters on packaging and letters on cakes, certainly. Okay, so that's basically that's the story with cakes. So yeah, so it's, if you need to cut the cake and and there's writing on it, so cut in between letters is 100% fine. And even if you don't end up doing it, you don't say, oh, I cut the letters, etc., etc., it's fine. Now with opening, once we're on that subject, so the opening of packages. So a way to understand this is, you have in the books back in the day when people read library books, which is becoming much less common. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But you have stamped on the side of the library books, you'd had the name of the library or the name of the school. So that is also a disagreement of the poskim whether that's considered erasing. We paskin that it's not a problem, and you can open and close that book at will. And the reason for that is because that word is still staying there. That word is there. It's not it's not being erased. It's just temporarily. It's temporarily going away, and then it's going to come right back. So therefore it's fine. Now, obviously, if you bought yourself your own book and and somebody wants to write something on the side, so don't do that. Why should you put yourself into a machloikis on something Hilchos Shabbos? But if it's there already, then the poskim can say that it's okay. Now, when you're tearing a package and you're tearing the letters on the package, so what is the big issue that you're doing over here? First of all, you're not. So the question is it erasing the letters? Right. So it is and it's not. Why is it any different than the side of the library book? Right? You can put the letters back together on a package. You have a package of candy. I'm talking about like the let's or bag, the tea, not sugar, a sugar packet or something like that. So there's letters on there. So you didn't erase it. You can put it right back together the way it was. Right? That's one. Two is it's totally unintentional, especially especially if you weren't you're specifically trying not to tear the letter and you did tear the letter, right? So meaning my point is that if you see somebody opening a package on Shabbos and they end up tearing the letter, there is no reason to tell them, especially not to kids, and to, oh, you tore letters and look what you did, you're Mechal Shabbos. I mean, I hope people don't say that, but you hear kids saying it to each other. They should be told that it's not a Chilul Shabbos. It is absolutely not a Chilul Shabbos. We know that if you do something on Shabbos without intent, then it's not a problem. And this is totally unintentional. And even if you do it intentionally, there are, like we said, the Sfardim have no problem with it, with tearing, as far as I know. As far as I know, the Sfardim don't have a problem with it. Because again, it's not erasing. Erasing means that you take an eraser and you erase a letter. That's called erasing. This is not erasing. This is, yes. So the poskim say because you're taking a word that you can read and now you can't read it. So therefore, it's some form of erasing. That's fine. But it's certainly if you tear it in between the letters, which is very difficult to do with such accuracy when you're cutting a food package. But if you're trying not to, then and you're trying your hardest not to, so then you don't, then it's not a problem. Now there are opinions that even say that you can tear without looking at it because you have no idea what you're. I don't think it's a popular psak, but there are poskim that say that just don't look, and you have no reason to believe that on the back side of this package then there are letters, so therefore they just do that. Now, again, the minig is to try and avoid tearing letters 100%. I'm not saying that we should just go opening things. And as a matter of fact, like we said, it's really best to open all packaging before Shabbos as to not to get into any issues. But if you didn't, so then you try your best not to tear the letters. And if it happens, it happens. There's no, if you notice anybody getting stressed out about it, or kids especially, again, we're trying to make sure that people and kids especially look at Hilchos Shabbos not as a all. It shouldn't be like, oh, Shabbos is so difficult, I can't even open packages and Chal Shabbos and this guilt, and that's not the way. Um it's not, that's not the way it should be. Shabbos is meant to be pleasant, and this tearing the words thing, I find, gets people extremely stressed out for really no reason. So again, yes, so tearing, and if you can tear in between the words or in between the letters, then that that is also okay. So okay, so that's obviously a very, very common question. Did we discuss? We didn't discuss puzzles. I'm sorry, I meant to discuss puzzles. I went a little bit out of order. Okay, so puzzles, can you do puzzle on Shabbos? So puzzles, same thing. Are we going to consider a puzzle writing? It's not a permanent writing because the puzzle can fall apart, and then it's right back. You're back right back where you started. So is that considered permanent or not? Believe it or not, there are persons that say it's no problem to do a puzzle on Shabbos, even adults, because that's not a permanent writing, or that the writing was there and you're just putting it together. Like a common question, bananagrams or Scrabble on Shabbos, that's allowed to be played. Those games can be played even though you're spelling words, or with magnets on the refrigerator and your kids want to spell words with magnets. So magnets is a little bit, some poskim don't like using magnets on Shabbos, even though Lamaisa it's okay because it's temporary. But the spelling of those words is a temporary spelling. It's not going to last long. So then therefore it's okay. Now the Scrabble, where you put the words into slots that I don't know, it's not a slot, whatever, they'll stay for a long time. So some poskim don't like that. Now, a different issue with playing Scrabble on Shabbos is if you normally, when you play it during the week, you take score and you write it down, then that would be more of a problem to play it because we're afraid that you're going to write it down. But um, yeah. So, but getting back to the puzzles, so children up to bar mitzvah certainly can do puzzles on Shabbos, and that's fine. Adults, so sometimes you have the younger kids, and the younger kids want the adults to help them make the puzzle. So there, what I'll tell them is, I'll tell the adults that they could put the puzzle, you can put the pieces there, but don't push them down. Don't push them down hard into the puzzle. So then you're not really, meaning, put them there on Shabbos, and then when you want to, and then Motzei Shabbos, if you really want to keep the puzzle, so then Motzei Shabbos, you can press in all the pieces, or let the kid do it, and then it's more okay to do that. Stickers on Shabbos. So stickers, it really depends. If the stickers are going to come on and off, so then it's not a problem. But if the stickers are going to be more permanent, then that's more of a problem. So I mean, I had a girl from, I think it was a Lakewood area code, on to make a difference, but that texted me on Friday that she has a hard time keeping Shabbos. She's addicted to her phone, and she never, chas v'shalom, she said she was never over on Shabbos, but she has a very hard time occupying herself. And she has some sort of sticker thing that she just makes little designs out of the stickers, and then she throws in the garbage. So she wanted to know if that was okay or not. So I was trying to figure out how long these stickers will stay. Do they really stay a long time? Do they not stay a long time? Bottom line is I told her it's okay. I hope that it was all right, because it didn't seem like there was any sort of permanence to it. But that's what the problem is. You also have to be careful with boirer, with doing puzzles, because you end up separating the pieces and you end up leaving them for much later. So now even if you took the good piece from the bad piece, but we know that has to be done for immediate use. If it's not for immediate use, then it's a problem. And another fairly common question that's asked is, can you use this, especially for, I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, it's kids in school that are studying. If you're allowed to study on Shabbos, that's a whole different subject. But let's say they're studying Jewish subjects, so they want to know if they could take what are those things called? They come sticky notes, or whatever those things are. Can you use those on Shabbos? So some parents can say no, some parents can say yeah. Seems like the the common psak is that they can be used, but they can't come off a pad. They come on a pad from before. They should be taken off the pad from before Shabbos. So then, because you take it off if they're stuck to the original pad that they then when you take it off, it's makabah patish. You're actually making it into a usable stick-it note on Shabbos. It was taken off from before, and let's say you have them lined up inside the book, and you move them around the book, then the place can say that's okay, even though sometimes it ends up staying for longer term use. So that's basically, those are basically some shilas that come up. So okay, if anybody has any questions, just post it here, because I see the fellows from the next year are logging on. So the plastic containers that they seal, those certainly should be opened before Shabbos. If there's no choice, then you can open it on Shabbos, but it would be best to get it open if you don't have to tear the plastic. If somehow you can wedge it open without tearing that, I guess it depends which type there are. I think some of them you can't, but maybe open it from the side, then it would be better. But if necessary, then it's okay. The reason for that is because it's sealed tight, and now and those things can theoretically be used long term. So that's why it's a little bit of a problem. You should always destroy packaging if you can, so it doesn't become a utensil on Shabbos. But again, there's lenient opinions for everything with these subjects. So try and keep the stress to a minimum with these things, and of course try and open them before Shabbos. Okay, I'm assuming next week we'll have one last class for this year, Bez Hashem. I'm not sure what the subjects are, but I guess everybody can let me know. Yeah, part of it is opening it on the perforations, and part of it is making it to a more permanent utensil. Okay, maybe we just discuss Purim. There's a lot of more interesting dinim on this year on Purim, Erev Shabbos, when to eat the meal, etc., etc. Okay, everybody should have a good Tvach, a good Chodesh, and thank you for tuning in. Tvach. What do we got? We got Nadorim, right? We finished. You can't unmute. Oh, Parrot still has it in the. Ah, hold on. What happened to Parrots? Your videos are on.
You never closed down the old share. I'm still going.
You did. I closed down the old shit.
No, I mean, no one got kicked off. I mean, I didn't get kicked off.
You didn't get kicked off? I got kicked off. Now Liner just got kicked off. Still. Why should we wait for it? There were more guys on before, no? It's great. Nobody can talk back to me. Gewaldic.
Oh, now I can go. Someone did something.
I did. I asked. I
Okay.
put the asked to unmute.
Okay. We're not finished. We have 11 and 12.
Oh, we have 11 and 12. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then through Hay and the next sif.
Okay, well, it's 10:08 and
How was
nobody's on.
Ringle able to unmute?
I don't know.
What did he do? I want to hear his trick. Now he's muted.
I didn't do anything. I just pressed unmuted. I muted.
I don't know. Mine wasn't working.
I wasn't kicked off last time also.
I wasn't kicked off either. I went off and went back on. But my camera was, I was able to undo my camera. Even during the women's share.
Pat's in the middle of a birthday party, so whatever he's doing, he's doing.
Uh-huh. Whose birthday?
Kaz.
Uh-huh. Where'd they go?
No, he's at home.
In his house?
Yeah, I think so.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Okay, one of the late crew is on, so. All right, let's go.
When are you gonna start walking in for share? It was warm today.
Weissman? I don't know, you
Yeah.
have to ask him.
Oh, there.
When are we getting Landau back
He's
on this
muted.
year? Oh, he's also muted? He can't talk? Hold on. See that? See, that's what happens, David. Okay, now you can unmute.
No, I was actually contemplating today.
You're always
Go
contemplating.
in.
Just
No,
do
it
it.
was, oh, it was nice. Oh, for Rosh Chodesh, I'll come in to hear Ami. And then my wife was like, no, you're not going to shir. So I didn't come to shir.
The wife is
No, I asked him, like, should I go? I should go. I'm like, just to stay home. So I stayed home. But it was there. I was planning on doing it.
okay. Machshava k'maisa. All right, let's go. So end of Heter Iska, right? Yud Aleph. That's Siman Samach Vov. Ois Yud Aleph. So Chen Reuven Shoyechayv l'Shimon Mois. Reuven was chayiv to give Shimon money. V'agiyaz mana pirayin. And when it came time when the loan was, did we record? No, we did record. Okay. Okay, I don't know which parts. When did we start recording? How long ago? You muted again? Sheesh. Okay, I'm starting it again. Just in case. Hold on.